why wouldn't you, just to see if it does anything to the offense, give him an opportunity to go in there and play?
Yeah, obviously my focus is where we are right now, Mary Kay. That's not my focus.
If he had said to you guys, hey, I want to play, I can play, I mean, would that have factored into this at all? Or what was the thinking behind that and how'd that go?
Yeah, he obviously came in Saturday with his back injury. We were hopeful that he'd be able to move around well enough to suit up on Sunday, but put him through a pregame warm up, and obviously just didn't feel like he was ready to play, Mary Kay. But he's getting better every day, and I'm hopeful that he'll continue to improve.
Working with Matt Ryan, walk me through what is that like? It's his first role at this very important gig.
It's awesome, and to Matt's credit, you'd think he's been doing this for 30 years, and maybe he has. Maybe the truth is he's been doing this his whole life, because as the quarterback, you're the leader of the team. In a lot of ways, you're the leader of the franchise, and that's a role that he's been in damn near his whole life. And so it comes very naturally to him. Very intelligent, emotional intelligence, off the charts. So I've been very impressed, obviously.
Let me ask you something. What do you do when your franchise quarterback is hurt, your former starter just got released, and the entire NFL is watching to see if you're going to panic? You don't panic. You plan. Kevin Stefanski just sat down with Rich Eisen, and in less than 3 minutes, he said more about the Atlanta Falcons' future than most head coaches say in an entire press conference. And buried inside that conversation, if you were paying close attention, was a message about the quarterback room that every Falcons fan needs to hear. We're breaking it all down. Stay with me.
They always come out and say, I feel for Shedeur. I really do. He never thought in a million years this is the way he'd be born into the league. His draft is still, and always will be, I think. And I once upon a time saw a first-round pick fall in the draft because he was on the Pineapple Express with the videos showing about Larry B. Tunsil. Yeah. I thought that was the strangest draft I've ever seen of a one player, but that just lasted half a night. Shedeur's, as we know, lasted 3 days, to the point where even my mom is asking, what's up with Dion's son? And that's the way he's born in the league. And he finally gets into a game for the Cleveland Browns. And it's like, okay, kid, protect our lead against the Baltimore Ravens defense.
Well, that's what I expect out of a fifth-round pick. Right. He just doesn't look like a pro player. And,
well, not yet. And he's not going to get the chance with the Cleveland Browns, man. I don't know what it is. And everything that they have done. Listen, I know they wanted to try Flacco, and I know they drafted Dylan Gabriel over him. And it looks like they believe Dylan Gabriel is the better pro prospect, which is their right to do. Then why draft the kid when you did?
That the Falcons have had their failures at quarterback, but now you're going to bring in someone who's the quarterback guru, but where's your work? And since we're here, let's bring it here. This is why.
It's official. Shedeur Sanders is the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback for the rest of the 2025 season. Kevin Stefanski making the announcement via his Monday Zoom press conference that he'll be sticking with Shedeur the rest of the way. No more trying to see Dylan. No more of the Deshaun Watson, will he play this season stuff, barring an injury, which let's hope that doesn't happen. We don't want anybody to get hurt. Shedeur Sanders will finish out the year as the starting quarterback. This is always the path that made the most sense. It's the path that I'm thankful that we get a chance to see. The way Shedeur has been playing, especially yesterday, 364 yards against the Titans, the 4 touchdowns. I know there's the blemish of the interception there, but the fact that he was able to rally and sort of erase that and make it an interesting game at the end where they could have tied it had they, kicked the PATs. We can debate all that stuff later. Like, that was as thrilling as a performance as you're going to get. And it was a sign that he's continuing to get better. He's continuing to make progress. He's making throws the other quarterbacks that have started this year just were not making or could not make. This is the right move. It's what this rest of this 2025 season needs to be about. Evaluating Shedeur Sanders and finding out if he's a viable option to be the quarterback that you lean into as your starter, as your franchise guy next season, or if you're going to have to draft another one in the draft, because right now the Browns are slated to have a top 3 pick.
How are you going to take your experiences from Cleveland into Atlanta and maybe say, I'm not going to do it that way anymore?
I would hope that I'm taking every experience really from year to year and month to month and game to game and trying to become a better version of myself. And there's obviously, you look back over 6 seasons in Cleveland, there's a ton of stuff I'm proud of, and there's things that I would definitely do differently. Some of them are really small things, some of them are big things, and I think if you have the right mindset, if you have the right growth mindset.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about Kevin Stefanski himself, because this hire was not the flashiest one of the offseason. It wasn't a young offensive guru coming off a Super Bowl run. It wasn't a big name with a trophy already on his resume. It was a guy who spent 6 seasons in Cleveland. 6 seasons in Cleveland. Now, if you know anything about the Cleveland Browns organization over the past decade, you know that's not a compliment on its own. That's a war story. That's survival. That's learning how to lead a football team through injuries, quarterback chaos, drama, and disappointment, and still walking out the other side with your credibility intact. In Stefanski, he not only survived, he won Coach of the Year twice. When Rich Eisen asked him what he's carrying from Cleveland into Atlanta, Stefanski didn't dodge the question. He leaned into it. He said he's been trying to grow year to year, game to game, month to month, that he's proud of a lot of what happened in Cleveland, but there are things he'd do differently. He was honest about that. That kind of self-awareness, that's not PR talk. That's a coach who's been humbled by the job and came out wiser for it. He also mentioned that after 6 seasons, he now has deep confidence in how to build a coaching staff, how to identify what a roster needs from a coaching perspective. And that matters more than people realize, because in the NFL, one bad coordinator hire can cost you a season. Before we even get to the quarterback situation on the field, we need to talk about a quarterback who's now working off it, Matt Ryan. Yes, that Matt Ryan, the MVP, the guy who threw for over 67,000 yards in the NFL, the guy who was the face of the Atlanta Falcons franchise for over a decade. He is now in a front office role with the organization, and Stefanski had nothing but glowing things to say about him. He said Matt carries himself like someone who's been doing this executive work for 30 years, and then he said something that really stopped me. Maybe he has been doing it his whole life, because as a quarterback, you are the leader of the franchise. That line hit different, because think about what a franchise quarterback actually does. He reads defenses, multiple looks, changing schemes, pressure, chaos, and makes the right call in under 3 seconds. He manages an offense of 11 different personalities. He communicates with coaches, keeps teammates calm, and absorbs the weight of an entire fan base on every single snap. And Matt Ryan did that at an elite level for 16 years.
Perfect at this thing, but I certainly feel more comfortable after 6 seasons of doing this in my chair. Like,
well, what's the small thing? What's the big thing that you're going to?
Yeah, doing interviews with Rich Eisen seem a lot easier.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just comfort in everything, in the decisions that you make. Comfort in putting a coaching staff together. I would tell you, Rich, being in the league now, being a head coach for 6 seasons, being in the league, you feel confident in knowing.
So when Stefanski says his emotional intelligence is off the charts, that's not just a compliment. That's a scouting report. Ryan brings something to that front office that you literally cannot teach. He's been in the film room, on the field, and under pressure in ways that most executives never have been. The Falcons didn't just hire a name. They brought in a guy who understands the quarterback position at a molecular level, right when they need to figure out their quarterback situation most. And now we get to it. Michael Pennix Jr. If you remember, the Atlanta Falcons made a move last year that genuinely shocked people. They drafted Pennix in the first round, despite already paying Kirk Cousins a massive contract. The reaction from the media was immediate and brutal. People were calling it one of the most confusing draft decisions in recent memory. But here's what Stefanski said about Pennix, and pay attention to the actual words he used. The kid can make all the throws. He's athletic. On tape, his high-end plays are impressive. And most importantly, the Falcons believe in him enough that their entire offensive system is going to be built around maximizing his talent. That's not the language of a backup plan. That's the language of a franchise guy. But, and this is the part that matters most right now, Pennix is currently in rehab, and Stefanski kept coming back to that point during the interview. Not once, not twice, multiple times. The most important thing for Michael is getting healthy. He's got to keep his head down. He's attacking his rehab. You could hear the genuine care in how he talked about it. This isn't a coach worried about his roster piece. This is a coach who's invested in this kid as a person. And that context matters, because a quarterback who's still recovering can't be evaluated in real time. The Falcons are being smart about managing his timeline, and Stefanski is using every minute of this offseason to build around him before he's even on the field. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Kirk Cousins. Stefanski was careful here, very careful. He said Kirk's name came up in conversations, that the GM had already spoken publicly about it that morning, and he acknowledged having a personal relationship with Cousins. But he didn't commit to anything. He didn't guarantee Kirk comes back. He didn't guarantee he doesn't.
Talked this morning about Kirk, and I think the world of Kirk. Obviously, have a personal relationship with him, but we're excited about what we have moving forward.
Okay, and then Pennix, what you see from him? I imagine I don't think so. I mean, obviously Watson was still either healthy or coming back. Did you kick tires on him in Cleveland at all?
You watch all the guys. We didn't at that moment in Cleveland didn't think we'd have a chance.
Being worked out, but the direction of this franchise, that seems pretty clear. All right, this is the question that brought a lot of you here. Shedeur Sanders. He wasn't mentioned by name in this interview, but the conversation around him and the conversation around Michael Pennix are connected in a way that's impossible to ignore, because they both speak to the same fundamental question. What does the ideal NFL quarterback look like in 2025? Shedeur Sanders is one of the most talented quarterbacks to come out of the college game in years. Pinpoint accuracy, elite football IQ, leadership presence. He carried Colorado on his back and made it look easy at times. And now, in a draft class stacked with quarterback talent, he's going to land somewhere and change that franchise immediately. Could that somewhere be Atlanta? Realistically, it's unlikely if the Falcons are committed to Pennix. But here's the thing. The NFL is a what have you done for me lately league. If Pennix's recovery hits a wall, if he struggles to find his footing when he does come back, if the offense doesn't click, the Falcons could find themselves back in quarterback conversations faster than anyone expected. And a team with Matt Ryan in the front office, a head coach who knows how to develop quarterbacks, and a history of aggressive draft decisions, don't count anything out. Stefanski even mentioned that while scouting Washington's receivers in Cleveland, you naturally end up watching their quarterback too. He had eyes on Pennix as a prospect. He knows what he has. The question is, does Pennix get healthy enough, fast enough, to make this conversation irrelevant? Let's zoom out for a second, because this interview with Stefanski wasn't just about quarterbacks. It was a window into the culture he's trying to build in Atlanta. He talked about growth mindset, about humility, about not pretending you're a finished product. He said he still makes mistakes, and the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. It's showing up every month, every game, every season, and being a slightly better version of yourself than you were before. That philosophy works for head coaches, and if Stefanski is communicating it right, it's going to work for his players too. Michael Pennix doesn't need to be Patrick Mahomes by week 1. He doesn't need to be perfect. He needs to get healthy, keep his head down, trust the process, and be ready when his moment comes. That's the message Stefanski is sending, publicly and privately. And in a league where young quarterbacks get thrown into impossible situations and blamed when those situations inevitably go wrong, it's actually kind of refreshing to see a head coach protect his guy the way Stefanski is protecting Pennix. Look, the Atlanta Falcons are not a finished product right now. They're a team in transition with a new head coach, a recovering quarterback, a complicated cap situation, and more questions than answers heading into the offseason. But after watching this interview, I'm actually more confident in where they're headed than I was before. Stefanski is sharp, Matt Ryan in that front office is a legitimate asset, and Michael Pennix, if he gets right, has the talent to make Atlanta forget every controversy that came with drafting him. As for Shedeur Sanders and the rest of this draft class, the NFL is about to get a whole lot more interesting. If you got value from this breakdown, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. Subscribe if you're new, because we do this kind of deep dive every single week. And drop a comment below. Do you trust Michael Pennix to be the guy in Atlanta? Or do you think the Falcons need to make another move at quarterback? I'll see you in the next one.